Well, obviously, many countries have higher tariffs on American products and services than America has on their products. But some of these are developing countries, and some of these tariffs were as a result of trade deals that Trump himself had negotiated during his first term. So if he's upset and concerned about some of these, what he considers unfair tariffs by other countries, let's talk about it. Let's negotiate. But let's not just throw the entire global trading system into upheaval, which will affect people all around the world with so many unintended, unnecessary consequences.
Secretary of Commerce under Barack Obama, also former US Ambassador to China and Governor of Washington State. Hello to you.
A pleasure to be with you, Adam.
What do you make of what has happened since Liberation Day in the United States and around the world with the introduction of these tariffs?
Well, this is absolutely insane what President Trump has initiated. It's all these different contradictory objectives, and I'm not even sure they can accomplish any of their particular objectives, but it has created upheaval in the entire international global trading system. And ultimately, it will be consumers and workers who are hit and who will suffer.
I mean, President Trump's claim is that the international trading system as it was ripping off Americans. Was there any truth in that?
Well, obviously, many countries have higher tariffs on American products and services than America has on their products. But some of these are developing countries, and some of these tariffs were as a result of trade deals that Trump himself had negotiated during his first term. So if he's upset and concerned about some of these, what he considers unfair tariffs by other countries, let's talk about it. Let's negotiate. But let's not just throw the entire global trading system into upheaval, which will affect people all around the world with so many unintended, unnecessary consequences.
Is it possible that this will onshore manufacturing in the United States?
There may be some onshoring back to America, but not to the extent that Trump talks about. In terms of certain industries, America no longer has that capability. And even if they were to try to bring that back, it could be years and years and years to build huge manufacturing facilities, find trained and skilled workers to operate them. I mean, are Americans going to pay this $3,000 to $5,000 increased tax per household for the next 5, 6 years until some of these manufacturing facilities come back? Under President Biden, there were huge tax incentives for semiconductors and solar companies to locate in the United States. But who's going to manufacture basketballs? Who's going to manufacture home appliances and big TV sets that we now get at some of these big stores in America? It's at Costco or Best Buy and some of these other places. I mean, there is no television manufacturing in America anymore. And to think that they might all come back, that's ridiculous.
Some in the administration say this is really all about China and it's about re-gearing the world financially to take on a threat from China. Do you see it that way?
Well, unfortunately, if all these other countries are going to face tariffs for their goods coming into America, they may actually just decide that having a supply chain in Vietnam, Cambodia, or other parts of the world really don't make much sense, and they might as well keep it in China because even with the tariffs, those products are still much cheaper than manufacturing in America, and so or having it manufactured in Germany and the other countries of the EU. Obviously, many companies are trying to diversify their supply chain. COVID taught us that, and even the political upheaval over the last several years has taught countries and companies to say, we can't be reliant on China. We can't be reliant on any place because if there's a natural disaster, if there's a pandemic like COVID, we don't want our entire source of supplies to be shut down because it's affected one particular country. And they certainly don't want to be dependent on the or subject to the mercies of the politics of Washington, D.C. if suddenly China or some other country is off limits because of the high tariffs. So they are trying to decouple, and that's good business sense.
Does it worry you that China could become a global leader, if you like, in the rules-based order, whereas the United States is regarded as a bit of a rogue?
Well, unfortunately, the actions by the Trump administration in terms of their policy and their reversal of supporting Ukraine and questioning the value and the commitments to NATO, let alone even the defense of Taiwan, I think is causing many countries to say, maybe we can't rely on the United States. Their word is not good, and their word and their promises mean nothing. And so I worry that other countries will be turning away from America and forming alliances among themselves, whether it's among the EU or the Asia Pacific region.
Obviously, as an American, it's not your job to advise foreign countries, but what would you feel would be a sensible response by the European Union to 25% tariffs? Is it to immediately reciprocate, or is there a more subtle way, do you think, of dealing with this?
Well, I think reciprocation, I don't like to see a trade war. And I don't want a trade war to escalate because in a trade war, there are no winners, only losers, consumers and workers. And so if there's retaliation by Europe, and that's understandable, I mean, if someone throws a snowball at you, are you just going to stand there and take all that incoming fire of snowballs, or you want to defend yourself and assert your independence and integrity? So it's natural that many countries, like as we've seen from China or Canada, have imposed reciprocal tariffs. But that's going to hurt everybody, and so I would hope that that's unfortunate because the Trump administration has launched a broadside of attacks, tariff attacks against all the countries of the world. That makes absolutely no sense. And it will take time to negotiate some deals or lowering of tariffs and trade agreements. And in the meantime, consumers and workers will suffer. It will create so much uncertainty that it will also cause, I think, many businesses to stand down some of their plans that they had for the next several years in terms of expansion or moving into other markets.
Do you see any chance of a bespoke trade deal for the United Kingdom, which of course has left the European Union, which could be to the advantage of both sides, the US and UK?
Well, obviously, talks have apparently are underway, and or there have been indications of interest by Great Britain to have a negotiated discussion, a negotiated deal with the United States. Let's hope that those can become are quick and can be win-win for both sides.
What would you see as the areas for a win for the United States in terms of trade with the UK?
Well, I think obviously it's just the tariffs that American products and services face when they export to Europe, and so I think those are the things. This notion about addressing the trade deficit really makes no sense, and so I think let's focus on one thing. And that can be more easily and quickly accomplished. That would be discussion over tariffs.
Why doesn't it make sense to talk about addressing a trade deficit?
Well, because oftentimes there are products made in other countries that are not available in the United States, and so we have to purchase from those entities. Let's take, for instance, mangoes. We don't grow mangoes in the United States, and so the Philippines is, for instance, a major source of mangoes. But oftentimes these other countries are also very, very poor, and to expect their consumers to buy so much from America isn't realistic. And how we calculate trade deficits also is not very accurate. For instance, we have look at all the Apple products that Americans buy. Well, it's counted as a deficit as all being made in China, whereas in fact many of the components of these iPhones are produced in many other countries, including the United States. But it's simply final assembly in China. And so, should some of that be some of the dollar amount or the value of those iPhones be subtracted in terms of the ledger that's assigned to China? Should some of that be assigned to Vietnam or the United States or any of the other countries that are the source of some of these components?
The world has had the initial few days of shock. Markets are opening again on Monday morning. What would be your anticipation of what's going to happen?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea how the market's going to respond and how investors are feeling about what's happening. There's just so much uncertainty.
A majority of Americans, according to latest polls, seem to think the country is heading for recession.
Well, a lot of the economists from major financial institutions who thought that the possibility, the prospect of a recession a few months ago was very low, but now they're saying it's more than 50%, and even the Fed, Powell, is concerned about the possibility of a recession. So let's hope that these tariffs are short-lived, but the longer they go on, the prospect of retaliation, but also business uncertainty, layoffs, decrease in employment, higher inflation is not good for anybody.
I mean, as you know, Donald Trump says the pain will be worth it in the end. Is there any chance he's right?
I don't think so. I mean, we saw during his first administration when he imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum that, yes, some more steel manufacturing came back to the United States, was done in the United States, but very few jobs, very few increase in jobs. But also, when economists will note the loss of jobs because of the higher cost of these inputs into American products, and therefore made those American products less competitive when they were trying to be sold both in the United States and abroad. And so there was actually decrease in jobs. So the net gain was very little.
Gary Locke, thank you very much indeed for joining us from the United States. Thank you.